the the one of the with the breathing and expanding the like the rib cage. I mean, with the shoulder one, the one we want with the shoulders.
Because if it's respiratory, you want to get that gunk up. Cinnamon, turmeric, ginger. Those are three things that I like to mix for upper respiratory. Right now, I felt great this week, first thing in the morning, better than coffee. I juiced. Lacey has a juicer, so I can put a ginger root into that thing, and it'll just grind it into pieces, and the juice comes out. And I made a full root, like a chunk of ginger, a couple chunks of turmeric in there, and then a pineapple and an apple. And it's in a mason jar about this big. It's not something that you'd want to pour into a drink and sip on. It's more like I'm taking it like a shot in the morning, and it just it wakes you up. You can feel that burn deep in the chest, but in my opinion, it loosens up any of that phlegm too, any of the congestion. And this time of the year, with everything turning green, it's one of the harder times for me to breathe. So that's one of my strategies when it comes to respiratory care.
Can I chime in for a sec, Code?
You bet.
So one thing in thinking about, especially someone that's older, it's really hard to change body positioning and make it last. So someone who, like we teach straight feet, all that kind of stuff, but someone who hasn't had straight feet and then you try to change that, there's always a break-in period where changing from one old habit to a new one, there is going to be some pain involved and some discomfort. So my advice to you, Henry, would be to try and watch her when she knows you're not looking and see what her posture is. Because if she was cooking all day, she probably forgot about how important it is how you this is just for an example. She probably forgot, and I do this all the time, but you forget how important your posture is and how your feet are when you're concentrating on something else, and it's really easy to fall back in those bad positionings. So if she was in a bad positioning kind of during the whole day, then that would explain some of the pain coming back. So emphasize on posture and the hip hinge instead of bending, and that makes a big difference. But you just have to get in there a mindset that, oh, my hip's hurting, oh, my foot's not straight, I need to get my foot straight. That's just an example of the kind of the posture. But I've noticed a lot that when people do make a change, it doesn't automatically always make things better. There's kind of a break-in period where you're starting to use those tendons, those ligaments in a different way, and it is going to be sore. So acknowledge that, oh, you know what? That's actually a great sign that you're sore, because that means, does that make sense?
Yes, and you say two things that I've been watching. Is you cannot change the posture of a 70-year-old woman, and every time that we're not working out, and I see her posture, she's like leaning onto one foot. She put all her weight in one foot, and I always tell her like, you always put all your weight on one foot, and then she passed it on to both. But that's something important you say, Corey, and thanks. When I'm working out,
one thing that really helps with that, I found, is that if you take a patient and put them in front of a mirror so they can see themselves and they have that visual
we have a mirror.
They do so much better, because in their body, their position, and whether it's good or bad, that's their normal. So if you can actually get somebody to walk towards a mirror and actually see how they're walking, they're like, oh yeah, I do that. So the problem you're fighting is muscle memory. Is when she gets weak or kind of tired, that muscle memory knows, oh no, this is where we need to be. And most oftentimes that's kind of a wrong position, but you're fighting muscle memory is the hard thing.
But one of the things is the hip injury. She put her weight to the other foot, and I've been watching that. and she do it very frequently. Tomorrow I'm gonna do the videos. I'm gonna edit it, so just give you the principal parts
Right.
to watch
Cool.
her moves and how she moves and how she stands, and you can give you some tips, because I mean it's really a challenge being with a 70-year-old woman trying to do this kind of movements or trying to help in her, because it's
It's
a
a
big
whole different
responsibility.
ball game, right, Henry?
Yeah,
Because like
it's
the
a
whole
big
time you're
responsibility.
like, oh, I got to hit the brakes because if I work this lady too hard, she's gonna be sore shit
Yes,
tomorrow and hate it.
yes.
One
Funny,
little
Go
one
ahead,
little
Corey.
trick too is like a bathroom scale. So if you put a bathroom scale, if you took her weight and divided it in two, have her step up on that scale the amount of weight that would be 50-50, or two bathroom scales are perfect because they can stand on each one, and then they can look and actually see, oh yeah, I got way too much weight on the left when I need to put, so they can actually get that visual feedback on both scales and see, oh, okay, there's 50-50. Does that make sense?
It's a really good idea. Corey, we should film that little lesson.
Okay.
Because you've been to these shoe stores where they've got like a $10,000 machine that's basically just selling you an orthotic at the end of it's going to tell you like, oh, you need this orthotic or this orthotic. But nobody has the simple approach of, hey, just stand here and see for yourself if your left side's got 80 pounds or not on it. So instead of something, I guess, for that is the old school one that's just a spring instead of the digital one that's going to flash 3 times and then show up what the weight is. You can see like that real-time change. I want to do that, Corey. I'm curious. I might add that to my bag here.
Yeah, a scale is a great tool, and you can. I mean, if you can get two, that's perfect, and they're usually not too much money, but it's a great little tool to, especially someone who, let's say they're 50% weight bearing or 25% weight bearing after a surgery, and they don't know, well, what's 25%? Well, let's do the math, and then you can step on the scale and see exactly what
Cool.
that feels like, and you can start to.
It's funny. Yeah. I've never done that, Corey.
Really?
I've worked in that world. I've never seen anybody do that.
Yeah, scale. I would find because most of the care facilities we've been in, what do? We weigh them, right? They weigh them daily. So I would have them go over there and stand sideways and put one foot on the scale. Okay, push that to 50 pounds. There's 50% or whatever the number would be.
Cool. Smart. That immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Henry, when you get the film, and we'll go over that, we're going to review it. When you get that film, we're going to be able to see where her weight is, right, on that video. But to really refine it where she's got that real feedback, I don't want to make this where you have more work as the coach, Henry. I want you to be more informative for her, and she needs to understand she's got a long road to hoe. She's at 70, which means she's starting late. But that doesn't mean she can't be successful. Now, how successful does she want to be 100% successful, or does she just want relief like 5 out of the 7 days of the week? Because realistically, that's what she's going to get. Because she's old, she's going to have prior injury. The hip is already busted, surgically repaired. So getting her to understand what causes pain is where we're at in the preliminary. And then the second step is, hey, here's how you actually get out of it. But if she can, that's always my priority. Here's what's causing it. This is the root cause. Do you comprehend it? Are we on the same page with her? That's where I would start this week, and that's what I would do tomorrow. Like, really interview in depth. What do you have pain with? What are the things you're doing around the house? Are there things, is she bending over and hauling shit out that's weighted and heavy? Does she have a friend or a family member that can do that? Can you start to facilitate things towards others right now? And then she can readopt those chores as she progresses and gets better. So you can reduce her workload and repetitive stress load throughout the day. Because coming out of an illness, she's probably going to have 6,000 chores. So don't be surprised if she tomorrow morning sends you a text, oh, I'm so sorry, I've got too much to do. But if you're going to see her at her house and say, hey, that could be part of your session tomorrow. Not that you're doing it for her, but you're assessing, hey, Miss Kim, I need to see you doing some of these house keeping chores. I need to see how you're doing things and do just an overall life analysis, and then say, hey, I need a week to get it back to you. I'll get it back to you on Wednesday. And we'll create like a full report together, Henry, that says, hey, here's what you do. Here's the easier way to do things. Here's how you conserve energy around the home. Because when it comes down to it, those are the things that I would focus on with her, and not be overly emphasizing the exercises as much as you've got to be consistent with a daily movement hygiene routine or decompression routine. We want to do it 3 times a day. We got to get your feet elevated. We got to get circulation. And then we've got to make sure that you're not hurting yourself in your daily living tasks. And you stop the bleeding per se with that person. And then you can start to add volume of challenging exercises. Is that where, are you on that same mindset?
Yes. Yes, and I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna start that way. I mean, yeah, I have the same mindset. I'm with John Paul and Gavi and Janet. We always speak that it's not only by being coaches or giving exercises to people. It's like changing their lives and really connect with the person and trying to really try to help the person, because that's a big satisfaction when you are able to help someone. And then actually today I received a text from another client. She's like, I can't believe I don't have to take pills for my back pain after the stretch. And I was like, really? Yes, thank you, God bless you and bless your family. And that was a nice message for me today in the morning. I was like, hey, that's the kind of things that I like of doing this, helping. So thank you, and I'm gonna put it tomorrow and work.
Hey, Cody, have you talked about resting positions? Oh,
Hey, I'm so sorry.
oh.
I don't actually know what happened. I tried to move my video off my screen to pull up the document.
Hey, have you talked about resting positions, Cody?
A little bit early. So we are in an assessment. We're in foot and knee,
Right.
and then we're in an assessment module at this point.
Gotcha. Somebody that's
Henry,
70
JP,
years
Gabby,
old,
Jen.
resting position could be a big part of that too. It's fine working on your posture when you're standing, but what are you doing when you sit down? Are you in that slump position? And, you know, we can get into that another time, but that's another thing I would address for like somebody that's older like that is the resting. How are you resting?
No, that is what we're going to do when we get that film back. So Henry expected to have that film, but she's been sick. Jan, can you hear me?
I'm here.
What up? I've got you. When we get Henry back in, there he is. Henry, sorry you're disconnected. Jan, but I'm going to get you. We're going to go through your videos today. I'm going to go in and dig for those and assess them and talk about kind of the same things we're talking about with Henry, but with the youth. That you've got the 3 kids that you sent me, and then any other videos I'll run through. Henry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice. Sorry, brother.
I don't know what happened too.
I was on my end. I swiped. I thought I could hide the window and open up a document on this iPad, and when I hid the window, it kicked me out of the call. It said it doesn't support multiple windows, so that was my fault. I'm gonna plug in, grab this other iPad, and get it going. Corey was saying that resting patterns, something he wanted to speak on as well, with the lady that we're talking about. Home resting patterns, like her chairs, her couch, whatever position she's in throughout the day the most. Just like that's that preliminary education you're doing with somebody. Once again, stopping the bleeding per se, keeping her from repetitively stressing her body any further. But I would guess overweight, walking, bad feet, and a old habit of compensatory patterns based off of a surgery that was traumatic and never fully rehabbed is going to be her biggest cause of problems. It's still recording. Cool. So it never stopped the call. It just kicked me out. Everybody see this? My screen?
Yeah, you have to click on your picture.
Save all these videos. All right. Everybody see this?
Yes.
Yeah, my poor boy.
All right. If you have a iPad or an iPhone or an Android phone, in the App Store, there's an app called OnForm. It's not the only app that does this, but it's the one that I've used the longest. It used to be called Huddle Technique, and this company OnForm purchased it. So overall, it's kind of the same thing, but it is I'm gonna remove. That's how I house my videos, and it's how I mark them up with somebody. So I import, and I can train everybody on this as they get it, but I'm going to allow it access to these photos.
Can I see the icon of the app?
I have it. Yo te lo paso.
Bye.
Something we may want to discuss, JP, is making a team huddle or a team.
Let's do it.
Form.
Let's do it, Gabi. Approved.
We'll look at how we can do it and get everybody to log in. That way, like any film that's uploaded can be attached to I use the free version, but you can add people and add profiles, add a new person, join with an invite code, add a new team. I'll look into that, Gabby, JP, and talk to you about it further. But today, I'm just going to use it, not necessarily train you on its use. We will work into training you on its use. There's tutorials inside of it, and it comes down to how much time do you spend doing it. So import, camera roll. We're going to start with the first one. Add it up, open it. This gives me a tool that I can scroll at the bottom in slow motion or fast motion, and I can look and screen record and mark up what I need. I can change my shapes. So I'm going to take you through how I do an assessment, how I discuss it, and you'll see me do it.
Can I put the drums, please? Because this is an honor.
Can you put a what?
Like the drums.
You're funny.
No, I swear. For me, this is awesome.
So two ways I do this. There's a short form and a long form. Long form, 15 minutes. Sometimes 30 if it's really needs to go in depth, if there's a lot of questions. If it's the second or third assessment, maybe 30 minutes, like max. But what I want to caution all of you to do is don't get overly analytical in your assessment and long-winded with your clients, because at the end of the day, they don't care. They have told you they hurt or they want to improve their performance. So until they're asking more questions, I wouldn't go into a long form assessment. Long form assessment is, I'm gonna start this over. Sorry. After I'm done with this, I'll tell you if it's a short or a long form assessment. We have gyroscopes in the body we've talked about already. We've got shoulders. We've got hips.
You can't see your video. Sorry.
Dang. Share screen, start broadcast. What about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody. Jan, Gabby.
Yeah, I can see that. It's in
Perfect.
pause, right now.
Yep. Yeah, we're not
Okay.
going anywhere. We're moving, not
Okay.
moving. So on the right side, I'm gonna set up my tools. Yellow I use for identification. Okay. Red I will use for an error or something I want to bring attention to. Green is an arrow that I'll use for positives or just as a different tier. White and blue you can be used. I'm not going to tell you have to do it this every way, but each of these tools takes some experimenting to get good at it. And then there's a little cheat code in this app. I don't ever use it. Some people do, but it dots everybody up. Okay. I don't love that because I want to show somebody that I'm competent in what I'm looking at, not go, hey, look what my computer says. Okay. Because what your computer says is going to miss some of the little details that over time you'll get really good at. So anytime I start an assessment, I say, so what's his name? I'm going to call him.
Janet.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
What's his
Hello?
name?
His name is Gil. Gil. Gil Samuel.
Heal. Okay, perfect.
Gil.
I love it. Heal together, heal. What up, Heels? All right, so, hey, Heel, this is your body, okay? Thanks for letting me film you. I want to point out some things that you can understand of what I'm looking at and how the body is designed and how it interacts. So, starting out, you have gyroscopes in the shoulders, in the hips, in the ankles, and then you've got two more additional gyroscopes that I'll talk about today, and one is in the thoracic area and the other is in the neck area. All of those gyroscopes, Heel, balance one another out. If a foot gyroscope tilts in any way, then the knee and the hip and the opposite shoulder are going to be affected by that behavior. So we're going to start with this ankle, this hip, this shoulder, and talk about what a column that's balanced and organized looks like versus a column that misses the mark. And in your standing position, in your resting position, facing me, facing the camera, we're going to look for your foot shape. We're going to look for space between the elbows and the torso. You'll notice that there's a little more space here than on this side. You'll notice that there's a foot. And I will say one thing that I try to do, guys, when I film is create enough space where I can really pick up down here on this app and not get on top of this scroll bar. But I can zoom in, boom, and I can point out that we've got a second toe. Boom. Got a second toe. We're going to watch where that second toe points. And then the other thing I'm going to look at is the little bony prominence that's on the inside of the foot. Because what it does will affect the knee. And that knee wants to sit on top of what should be a second toe that's straight and in a continuation of that line. For a lot of people, they've got a foot that turns out, and what it creates is a drop in these bony prominences where they start to go lower to the floor and the arch of the foot starts to collapse. Side view, we're going to look at the hip and the shoulder. And then the ankle. And we're going to look to see if that back of the head or the ear, there's a space between the ear and the back of the head, depending on where the head is. I'm going to kind of find the middle of those 2 points and go straight up. And for you, heel, I really love that I see this hip behind that shoulder. Now, some people can roll their shoulders forward, right, from that thoracic gyroscope that we pointed out earlier. And what that creates is a strain on the neck gyro. But if you start to look, there's a shape and a pattern. And from the side view, I really like your posture. So what I did there is I gave him a positive. Because in the first set, I kind of tore him up. Here are all the bad things. In the second set, I want to say, hey, okay, this is good. We got a hip that's behind the rib cage. Okay? So give him something that's positive, especially with people that may be self-conscious. When you get the turn, the back view is going to give us more of an idea of what's happening in the shoulder. And of course, we have a crease here, so I know that things are headed this way. And if things are headed that way, let's find out why. And we're going to find that ankle is collapsing inwards. Same thing on the other side. So we see something that he can do a better job of right out of the gate, and it's going to affect everything upstairs. Now, this clearly is something that I want to tackle and discuss. This is a loaded, packed side, right? If you were turning this way, which I believe we are, boom, then you're going to see that. But you're also going to see that he doesn't really get out of that position. And that's where the slow motion comes in. Hey, we're going to look at how you turn the body and what the correction is. So we have a short position from here to here. From this point to this point is a short position. This is something that we want to focus on with decompression work. How am I going to decompress that? Shoulder, hip. I need the hip to be back like it is, but I need the hand out to the side. And we need to be able to reach this hand up and over the body. So it lengthens this short position and it gets it larger by reaching up and over. So I might have him do that right out of the gate as I'm doing this assessment with him and say, hey, heel, can you reach up and over? What does that feel like? And then I'm going to correct foot position after I do that. With him, we already see some issues that we can resolve. So the rest of this assessment is just going to be compounding on what those errors are. And we're going to be looking for what happens. Does he load into the left or the right side? He's going to load into that. He's going to dump into that right side. So that tells me that in my work that I'm going to do with him, I'm going to focus on loading this left hip, getting that foot back under that column on that left side, so he can successfully get that pressure back over to that side. Because right now what's happening is this side's not doing its job. The pressure, the hips, everything's headed that way. You see the thoracic gyroscope, the chest start to point to the right. So you see pressure. Those are all the clues. See this flat arch, see the hips, see the chest, and then you've got a tilt on those shoulders. So these are the shapes that I'm going to be looking at in any of the exercises that I'm giving him, and frequently knowing, hey, I'm going to have to cue heel to decompress the thoracic spine and have more awareness of a straight foot, which means the rockers for him are going to be huge. If we put him in that rocker position, though, he may be able to sit on his heels out of flexibility and get to that position. If that's the kind of person he is, if he's super supple, then we need to add scaffolding. I would guess that he's not able to do that, and that would actually be hard on his foot and his ankle to get into a full squat. And that's why you see the upper body kind of at that point just locking. So all the pressure right here is in the spine, because this is bottomed out and this is bottomed out. Yep. What's that?
Okay. Is, how can I say it? I mean, it won't affect the fact that he has scoliosis. Is that something that you're looking forward to like get better, or is that something that will stay like that?
What you call scoliosis, I actually call a short position. So there, everybody's
he was born like that.
So,
since he was like 6 months. Remember that I told you about the open heart surgery? Yep. He was born with some.
I saw that scar.
Problems.
I saw that scar on his chest. They split him open in the front. I have a scar.
Just like me.
On the left side. Same thing, JP. This is little JP. Same doc by chance, or different doc?
No, different. He had surgery in Colombia when he was 6 months old. So yeah, he was born with a lot of issues, like something in his diaphragm, and he had surgery there. He had the open heart surgery. He was in bed like for 2 years, just recovering from all that. And his column, like he was born with that problem in the column, you know. So I don't know if that's something. My question was what, like, if that is something that he was born with, is that something that we could improve, like, or yeah. I don't know how to explain it or how to put out my question, but it's not something like you say.
I think she has
like, because of my posture is I have that problem. It's not his problem, right? He was born with that. I don't know how to put it out there.
So the fix that I would put him in, that white circle around his knee.
Your video is paused.
Yeah, we can see.
Better?
Yep.
See him now? Okay, so green is going to be where we want to put it. White is what I'm talking about. White knee. White, like the color, foot. Head, okay? We talk about corrective exercise. Corrective exercise is the attempt to correct old patterns, habits, scar tissue, whether it's surgery related or car wreck related or long-term bad habit related, or what I would say most babies go through is positioning related, right? You put a baby in a car seat all the time, they're going to start to form into the position of that car seat, which is why car seats are not my favorite thing, but there's a few of them out there that are probably good. The baby will let you know, I don't like this. Well, it's probably because they're in a funny position. But if you strap them in and go, too bad, kid, and they wrestle and they try to get themselves out, they're creating habits. Why? Because of heavy work. Remember me talking about play and heavy work? That's how you create new habits. So for heel positioning, that white knee should be on the ground here. That back foot I would put back there, and the head I would place over that knee. You've got two different exercises you can do that. One is on the ground, the other you can actually replace that foot instead of the knee there. We're going to cue heel to take the left hip back and get the chest over into this column, right? That column is the one that needs to be loaded. The right side is where everything's going. That's an old habit that's going to be hard to get out of. But the correction there is that when you look at him at rest, you see the exact opposite. So the fix, I'm using the wrong colors. The fix is to go the opposite direction. You could put a weight in this hand and it will pull pressure this way, down and away. You will put this right hand, put it up here, and then reach over across. That is what will correct over time that short position, which you see from scoliosis. And you see he struggles when he heads that way. Watch what happens. Oh, no control, right? So that tells me this is the shape. This is as close to a good shape as we've seen all day. How can we help him have more success in that shape from the hip to the foot here? I'm going to answer that. He needs support right here. He needs something to have his hand on. Okay, and you need to be able to put him in a position where his chest, because he's uncomfortable in this shape. But what you get is what I call reaction response. See all those wobbles? Those wobbles are his nervous system making a change in that moment. So the more you can induce that right there, the better. Have you seen people stand on a Bosu ball or a foam mat? And there's always a therapist going, oh yeah, we're working on balance. They're not really working on balance. What they're doing is inducing a reaction response, which is a playful response, especially with a kid. They're learning through heavy work and play and reaction. If I throw a tennis ball at them, they have to dodge it or catch it, depending on their age. If I throw that ball against the wall, it bounces back, I have to go catch it or dodge it, depending on the game I'm playing. Those are ways to make this playful. Before we get into play, we want to work on isometrics. Isometrics with heel mean that this shape of the foot, right there, what does he not have control of?
His foot.
His fingers? Uh-huh.
Watch his big toe. Oh. Heads up, up, oh man. So maybe I elevate his heel, and then that shape right there, straight second toe, I love that. But big toe, would love for it to be on that dot right there. And then the heel, we got to get pressure where? Up and out of that heel. And that will create pressure along this crease, which is the strong side of that foot. Hope I didn't confuse you with that circle. This crease from the second toe to the fifth toe, all those tendons to come off of that foot. And then the heel goes up. And as soon as that heel goes up, that means that we're loading this hip. Okay. Now the back side, that back knee should be inside of that white circle. That back ankle should be inside of that white circle. And we want the heel to point away. And the second toe, it's over here. I need it to be in here. And then both kneecaps and chest are synchronized. Moving up the chain. Okay, so what type of an exercise comes to mind when you see this position that he's in?
When you stand and move your hip and foot backwards with your hands on the wall.
That one,
the one
right?
that you said that we could the one that you said that we could put a mirror in there.
Yep. And then how could you make it better? Now, how could you get the upper body involved? How about an overhead anchoring point with a little rope? Kind of, where are my tools? There you go. A little bit of a rope and a little handle where his hand can go into that handle. That hand that's off the screen should be right on that handle. And then you shorten that rope.
Can it be like a TRX? Like a TRX?
That is what I'm drawing. TRX or
okay.
rope. You just want to anchor it above so he has a balance point up there. And then you'll cue his eyeballs to go up to that point that's an anchoring point. So now you reduce the pressure and the stress that's required to hold this position that he's not able to really hold, but you give him more success in that position. And now what do? We can do a couple things. First thing comes to my mind is, I got a free hand over here. Let's put something in it. Let's play a ball game. Let's play catch. Let's dribble a basketball.
Cody, so in a way, you want his nervous system to feel comfortable there, right? In words, maybe it helps. I don't know.
That position right there, more comfortable in that shape. You know what this looks like to me? Tennis serve, baseball throw. Okay. But what's another cue that I would give? We got to level these eyes out, bro. And for that to happen, that head's probably got to be over here, which means that hip has to go much further back, and that chest comes further down and forward. And then this knee closes. This hip closes. So this one opens, this one closes. This one opens, this one opens, this one closes. This one closes, this one closes. So any of your exercises are going to focus on, hey, we got to close the right hip, because earlier in the assessment, we leave it open, and then everything falls that way. So forget things to change and go the other direction. We need this hip to close, and this hip to open, and the head over into this column, the chest to head over into this column, so we can close this hip and open this hip. And it's all going to relate. And then once you find that synchronization of those two, you'll see improvements in things like the toe touch, right? What do you notice about this?
That he's not pulling his hips back. He's just getting down through his back.
He doesn't have the tolerance in these tissues to get the butt up and back. This is all very tight. Okay? So if I put the top of the feet down on the ground and do a knee lift rocker with the hands out here on the ground, then I'm going to target this most appropriately. The other thing I can do is put his butt on the wall and try to get his butt up the wall. and elevate the surface for his hands so he's got more success, so we don't stress this spine. Because right now, the way he's getting his hands on the ground is right here, not necessarily here. So the answer is get that up, get that forward, and then the head will come further down and the hands will rest comfortably on the ground. But you want to have success with that when you do the exercise. So you see, all right, what do we need? Probably an 8-inch block on the ground, like a yoga block, maybe 2, for his hands to be on so he can push his hands for balance, because we want pressure to go forward for the hips to go back. So I'm looking at these shapes in the assessment. It tells me everything I need to know to program an exercise. First and foremost, mirror work, column work, big toes together, heels apart. What's that? Rockers, wall sits. If I want to focus on one side, I can use this as the pivot point, or I can use that as the pivot point, depending on what he can tolerate, depending on what you can have success with, or just alternate between the two. You'll see right here, turn, his pivots the whole way around are in his heels. So if you have scoliosis and you're pivoting in your heels, then you're tearing up your spine even further. There's already this old habit of a curvature. You can kind of see it right here, right? I need to correct that, which means consistent throughout that assessment. We got to get him out of that right side. Which is kind of, so here's something. Did you say stand on your left foot, or did you say stand on your foot? Stand on one leg, out of curiosity.
I just told him stand in one leg, just like a flamingo, and he shows the side. And then I told him switch legs. I didn't tell him first the left and then the right. No, you just one side and then the other.
Nice. Then that gives you the ability. For some people, what I'll say is here is, well, shoot, I only told you to stand on one leg and you went to the left side first. So, which kind of goes against what I've been saying. They're both bad, Jan. There's a lot you can help this kid with, right? Like,
I'm worried. I'm telling you, I'm worried. I see a lot of work in it. Oh my goodness.
With the walk. So this is the landing. Here, let's do this. Standing here, okay? Right foot landing, 1, 2, 3. Where are we at? That's the landing position for him, okay? We got things falling in, right?
He has no arch, right, on the foot.
Got no arch, so that's not. He's not gonna care what that means, though. So you got to say, "Hey, heel, can you get this hip to turn, and can you reach with this hand and put it over here, so he can get that chest to really turn to that right side, and then pick that heel up off the ground." So you kind of adjust the upper body and put it in a position, hands on the wall in front of him, and then try to raise that heel and get that knee to get out. It's so right here in that position, the knees started to come out, not much, but it's dumped in. Now it's started to load. This is his loaded position and his leaving phase. So we've got a landing phase. When it lands, does it land with the second toe straight? Yes. Way to go. Is the heel on the ground, and is this ankle bone low? Does it drop into the floor? Do you notice a bend in a negative way in the Achilles? Yes. Okay. So no point. straight foot landing without that bend would be point number 2. On the way through, on the release, does the heel release straight up or out? No. Okay, so no point. So we know we have a bad landing and a bad leaving on the right side at the foot level. Now I'm going to clear. I'm going to go back. And we're going to look at the left side landing. Left side is the second toe straight. Anticipation tells me I want to say yes, but it's not really a yes. But it's better than the wide base that we saw in the squat. Does the knee bow to the outside? Does the hip set? Does the head and the chest turn into the landing column? Nope. What do you see? See a bird? Bye, Mom. So he kind of looked over to the right. So you catch
It was
him
my
walking
daughter
in another
saying hi.
time. There you go. You just catch him at another time. You say, hey, Heel, would you go grab that biscuit off the counter over there? And you pop that phone out as he goes to get it, where he doesn't know he's being filmed. And you're going to get an accurate representation of his walk. And you could do that once a month. And I think you'll start to see some improvements. Okay. Now, we talked about foot landing phase from the back view. Now we're going to talk about foot and landing phase from the front view. Left side, does the foot land as the second toe straight? No. Is the ankle bone high? No. Is the knee or the shin or the thigh to the outside? No. And this all happens inside of a right on his chest, inside of a 45-degree sorry. You don't always have to do this, but I'm setting this up because I'm teaching. I want you all to see from the front view things slide. Right side is the foot, the right foot landing straight. No. Is the ankle bone high? No. Is the knee or the shin or the thigh or the chest point to the outside? No, no, no. What is this? We got a little bit lined up, okay? And then does the head land over that foot? You give the center of his nose. Is it over the foot? No. Okay, so we want to see the head over, the hip back and over, the thigh and the shin over, the heel up, and the second toe straight for that landing to be cleaner. So you've got a landing phase and you got a leaving phase. There's the leaving phase. If you don't get the landing phase, the leaving phase is not coming, because that all has to set to the outside for that heel to release away from the body. But because his foot lands second toe not straight, ankle drops, knee follows, head never gets into the column because it's getting stuck over here in this middle to other column. It never really gets out of that center piece, right? And you can see the compression, bang, 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 bang. When I say you can see the compression, watch right through here. There's like a pressure pound right there. Bang, bang, bang. If you can see that, then you know it's a heavy landing. So it's nice to have assessments with a shirt off, because you can see some of that in the skin. And in the back view, you can see that short side, okay? We have to focus on that. That's what I would go after with him. Decompression of the upper body, overhead reaching point. I wouldn't get overly negative with the assessment with him. I'd say, hey, you see this position? We can do better if your feet are straight. I do a ton of rockers with him. I do a ton of knee forward, like the dragonfly or the kneeling drop back, where the knee is on the ground, and then get the chest and the head over here into this column in an exercise, and then add some sort of an upper body reach or catch game. That's what I'd start him out with. He needs the decompression work, but you're going to have to do it where he likes to do it. Does he hurt?
No.
So pain's not going to be a motivating factor for him. Does he, like, what's he like to do?
He really likes to play. For example, if he feels like like he has to do something, sometimes it's difficult for him to follow directions, you know. But if we are playing, he likes that. Or whenever I tell him, okay, let's exercise. Let's do some exercises, like because
no thanks.
He's always,
no thanks, coach.
No, he likes exercising and he likes playing. But for example, if he feels like it's too serious, or like I'm telling him, okay, let's do this like in a formal way, he won't do it. He doesn't like kid. Yeah,
he's a fun kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something that might help him a ton too, Jan, is like a monkey bar that he could hang from.
I have a pull-up bar in my house.
So a pull-up bar.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have. I have tried that with him. He doesn't have a good grip, so I have to hold him.
So you give him a
stool.
Falls. You give him a stool, and then you make it where he can reach that bar. The handles of a TRX strap, if there was a way to hang them off of here. So the handle would normally be that direction. If you can make it long ways, where his grip is more like his thumb pointed back towards the gate, right? And his palm faced in.
Like a hammer grip.
Yes,
like
100%.
When you do the hammer curls.
So hammer grip, hammer curls, that kind of work is going to be good for his shoulder, because you see this side, right? It's closing. So a neutral grip overhead versus more of a monkey grip, I would integrate. And then for him, he'd be standing, if he was standing on a box or a step stool, all you do is try to have him step back with one foot and stay engaged with his upper body up here on the bar. And if you just kind of alternate stepping the back foot down, now just like Corey was saying earlier, like shifting weight from scale to scale with his feet, with Henry's patient with the feet. Sorry, client. You don't really have patience. Patient, client means the same thing. If I ever say it, it's the same. That word means the same thing. It's just like in some circumstances I have to say patient, like if I'm seeing them in a medical environment. But 95% of the time I say client. I don't know why I said patient. Patient because she's 70. Just classically, shoot. Are you guys there? You lose my screen?
We are here.
You can see the screen still?
No. What did you do?
This iPad that I'm on today has like if I don't touch it, goes to sleep. The screen goes to sleep.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So overhead, there you go. Not good grip strength. That's something you want to work towards. You find the thing people aren't good at,
Gabby is telling me that she has a question, but I think she's muted. So she's not able to ask.
I'm having all the technical difficulties, apparently. So, since I've got you here.
Is she muted?
I don't think I'm muted.
Well, she left. I think there she is.
So, for him, stepping up on a stool, having something to hold on to overhead, making it hammer grip, okay? So that creates a long decompressed spine. And then I'm going to drop back with one foot. Drop back with one foot. If I wanted to make it harder, or actually not even harder as much as target more of the spine to get this bend, I would take this other hand, put them both on this side, on this strap, and step back. Whatever foot is back, I'm going to reach away from it because that's what's going to open up this side. And then I'm going to even out the head. And you'll find if you do that, just freelance, you'll find that reaction response where you induce it and lose your balance. But for him, straight, okay? Can you do it 8 seconds? Good. Can you do it out of your heels for 8 seconds? Good. Can you do it with one foot? Can you do it alternating without losing your balance? Those are the types of things that you want to make it, because then he can compete against himself, and you're working the chest, and that's what's going to get the spine open and give it this position back. Because with scoliosis, all that's happened is the spine, it coils, right? We all coil, or we all pack and release, or load and explode. If you're throwing, you're loading, and then you're exploding through. That spine with scoliosis just kind of gets stuck in a half turn, okay? And then the upper body kind of compensates, turn the chest, and now you've got this position, right? Which is going to come with this, right? And then you're going to come with this. You're going to see it in every grocery store in the United States for sure, probably down there too, but you see people that are stuck in this position, and it's because they've been driving. So everybody in a form has some scoliosis, in my opinion. So when I hear I have scoliosis, I think, of course you do. Your spine is coiled and loaded into one side, and you've been stuck there for who knows how long. For heel, it's been for a lifetime. So the first time you start to introduce these things, it's like the first time his body is ever going to be aware of it. So using support with him is essential, because without that essential balance, you're just going to create all these reaction responses, which is just going to reinforce his heel down dominant position where he's just here, and all he's doing is further compressing his discs. And if he's young, he's still got them, and he can compress those discs all day, and he's not going to have any symptoms. What happens when you hit 30, 35 years old, you've been compressing discs, doing things poorly, whether that's on purpose or over intensifying. If I'm out swinging a golf club trying to hit the ball 380 miles an hour versus hitting the ball 200 yards, which is what it's golf supposed to be played, I just got to hit the ball to the hole. I got to hit the target. A lot of people go pick up the club and go, I'm going to see how hard I can hit it. Well, guess what? They keep doing that. What are they going to tear up? Their spine. The body's not made to just create these huge outputs of force. That's why you see a Major League Baseball player not last very long for the most part. But the ones that do last long, what do you think they have in common?
Can you repeat that, please? Sorry, my girl came in.
So like, I'm talking about intensity of the exercise. For heel, I want it to be low intensity and scaffolded. A lot of support, right? We are going to induce all sorts of reaction responses with him because we're putting his body into positions that he's never, ever been in his lifetime. So you're going to see old habits die very slowly, which means he's going to be tempted to dump into the heels. if I take that position, he's got discs still intact, right? He's young. He's going to be able to dump into the heels and walk crooked footed. And he doesn't hurt. He doesn't have any symptoms yet. It's later in life that you're seeing, hey, I see a problem here and I want to catch it early. And he's going to be very thankful for that later in life when he goes, wow, Mom, I was kind of a mess. And they just told me I had scoliosis. And I thought, shoot, that's me. I have scoliosis. Good. That's what I look like. Versus now you're teaching him, hey, looking like this comes with its own set of consequences. Those consequences in the long term are pain and repetitive stress. I brought up golfers and baseball players. The body is capable of a lot of intensity, and you'll see most baseball players don't last very long. But the ones that do last long, what do they have in common? That was my question. And what they have in common is when they're coming down the mound, they go from column, okay, loading into a column, and then they're going to separate the body, right? The leg is headed down the mound. Gravity is headed that way. They're coming down. Same thing with a swing. Same thing with a golf club. The head goes from this column, releases to the other column. And what they all have is a balance where this can release properly, right? If you get stuck in this position here and you don't get out of it, boom, all that pressure now that's being released through here has to come with that, with the foot, with the hip, the heel away. And if you see in an assessment in the walk that this heel flips in, then you know that that person didn't appropriately load. So for heel, you see that his heels don't move away. That doesn't mean that we immediately need to go to that position to get that to re-ingrain, because the landing for him is what's off. The second toe is out, the foot's out of the column, and the upper body is compressed on this right side. It's just loaded. It's constantly over here. If you tested his grip strength, you probably see a stronger grip on the side that he favors, right? So to get him out of that, what are the shapes of release? The shapes of release from the foot and the hip is close, which is why the decompression work, laying on your back, I teach it closed. Can you decompress with the hips open? You sure can. What's it look like? Looks like full squat, and then right here, boom. If everybody does that, you're gonna go, wow, that's tough. Okay, open, open, or open, close, boom, away. Thumbs in, palms up, squat out, versus palms up, thumbs back, hinge. Those are your two patterns in the grand scheme of things you're looking for. And the body will mix and match those patterns. It'll get real good at landing in a closed position, and it'll get real good at releasing in an open position. It just, for what happens is the hips come forward and the heels come in. The hips have to come back. The chest has to be tall. And for heel, he's got to be able to reach from column to column. So the reaching exercises, and then overemphasizing the turn. So I'm going to get my chest to turn. Maybe I face a picture of a hot dog and a picture of a hamburger, and you say hamburger, hot dog, hamburger, hot dog. Because if you start talking to a kid about loading a column and leaving a column, they're going to be confused as you were the first time you heard that, but they're going to lose interest. They're not going to go, well, what does that mean? They're going to go, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, that's how they're going to approach school until they're of an age. They're like, hey, I really want to learn more about this. You'll find kids sometimes that do really want to learn more about it. And it's normally tied into some sort of a role model, whether that's you, the parent, or an athlete that they look up to. That's what I found successful. Hey, Lionel Messi's the best soccer player in the world. So I'm going to tell these kids that I'm working with, hey, here's the way that that man moves. Do you want to be more like him? Or do you want to be more like the person that I'm trying to describe? Because they don't care about the person I'm trying to describe. They don't care about posture. They don't care about positioning. They don't care about how the body's designed. They do care about what they think they want to be later in life. So if you can tie that in for him, that's why I asked, like, what does he like to do? And as he gets older, that'll become more clear for him, Jan. Like, if he doesn't know at this age, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. It's just, it's harder for you and I to work with that person at this point, because like, all right, now I have to approach it in a very work way, and it's not necessarily interest based. So for him, from a work standpoint, we've got to get a better design of the body. We've got to get this position to be this position, and then we got to gain control in that position. And control is, can I coordinate tasks with the upper body and stay on a good firm foundation? If that's very hard for him to remember, then I'll put him on those slant boards that's at an angle where the heels are up in the air. My butt will point up and back, and maybe I elevate a surface. And then we pick up a tennis ball or a bowling ball, a really light ball, rolling a softball, roll something. Does that make sense? You see where I'm coming from? These are just little activities. They're like, hey, this could be good. I need to do 40 reps. I need to do 40 of these with him, okay? And then we're going to go immediately into, all right, roll the softball, but make sure the hips are up and back and make sure the heels are off the ground, or the rep doesn't count. So while it's playful, it's still work, and it's going to download this as a habit for him. So you just mix it up, but all you're doing is trying to create these shapes.
And if, for example, if he can't hold his heels up because what I've seen is that he's very weak, you know.
Absolutely, he's compressed. He's using this for stability.
Mm-hmm. Of course. For example, I've seen him having trouble running or just hitting or throwing or something that a normal kid will do. So I really don't think he's gonna be able to hold his heels up. So maybe we could put something on his heels
the board. You stand him on that.
And if I don't have the board, because I would work with him in my house.
You could roll up a towel and put it under his heel.
Oh, okay, Or for example, a weight.
Cracker. You put a weight there. I would avoid using weights because they're so hard. You want it to give a little bit, but you also want to say, hey, heel, you're crushing the towel. Let's not crush the towel. I don't want you to crush the towel. Don't rely on the towel.
Okay.
The towel is there.
Perfect.
Think of it like you could put a sponge on top of a weight. And then you could see, hey, are you compressing that sponge? Or can you let that sponge decompress? So then you got a visual of how much pressure he's putting into whatever you're using down there. Piece of foam, styrofoam.
I get it.
Something that's got a little give, a little piece of foam.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people wear shoes, because they're comfortable, but they come back and get us over the long age, because now we've relied on this little pressure support, and we take our shoes off and we go walking barefoot on the concrete. Bang, bang, bang. We're in our heels for the rest of the day. And those are repetitive stressors. So you're just trying to teach him, hey, heel off the ground when we're doing this work. But when you're done with the work, don't expect for him to immediately buy in. But over time, if he consistently is doing this work, be like, hey, sorry, this is non-negotiable. You got to do this today. I'm going to hold you accountable. Then he's going to go, okay, maybe I'll start to do this more often, and I'll be more aware of it in my daily habits. Describe to him this position on the foot and say, hey, we got to pressure this area more. What do we want to call it? Right? It's an area. You could call that any area. If I got a kid that likes to play the Warzone, Call of Duty, it's got like a circle that just encloses the longer you play, and all the players get caught in this circle, and the last one that's live wins. You could call it that area, like, hey, the circle's enclosed. You got to be in here. You can't be at the beginning of the video game. You're in this big circle, and we've got to get you tighter into maybe a hula hoop and a smaller hula hoop. And you just start taking the hula hoops away. You play catch. Okay, there's 5 catches. Now let's make the circumference smaller, because that's their base of support. And the narrower the base of support, the more it challenges the upper body to stay under control. Because when you see him single leg stance, that's a small base of support. That's all you got. You got to be able to keep things symmetrical. If I'm a baseball player, I've got to master this move. I got to be here all day. If I don't master it, if I'm here all day, well, when I'm 10 pitches into an inning, I'm going to be a mess because I'm fatigued and I'm losing my balance as I come down. So now my arm slot's different. So if you can, I keep tying into baseball because that's what I like. I know it's not for him, but you can relay it to any activity. So single leg stance is what he sucks at the most, right? Like that's where he's really losing his balance. But that's not what we want to go after right out of the gate, because we say, hey, we got resting patterns. We've got static positions we can do better at. We've got weight shifting. We've got postural work. We've got spine work. You can do the rope work with him, right? The rope swings, the rope fluidity work, that could be huge for him. And say, hey, we're going to swing the rope for 45 seconds and the bell's going to ring, and then we're going to put our hands on the chair and we're going to point the butt up for 45 seconds. And then once that's done, we're going to lift one hand and see if we can lean back with a little less support into the chair. Or we could do chair push-ups. Or we could do 45 seconds of hangs. 45 seconds of hangs with your heels up. 45 seconds of hangs with one foot back. 45 seconds of hangs with no foot on the ground is what you're working towards, right? Which is an incredibly long time to hang. So you don't have to say 45 seconds. I'm just using that as a time duration. 8 seconds is a great time because that's bull riding. You ride a bull, it's 8 seconds. If you're on the bull, you score. If you're not on there for 8 seconds, guess what? You don't score. It's like you never tried. They mark your name in there and they go, did not score. So you could say, hey, until you can hang for 8 seconds, we're not going to score it. And then 8 seconds, you can add a little vibration plate. If you got a vibe plate, there's a lot of things you can add. Like those sensory mats are things you can add, but they're not necessarily needed. They're just little tools. They make it easier on you as a coach to practice. So for heel, that's the long form assessment, right?
Okay.
That is what I would do for somebody right out of the gate and explain all those things. But then at the end of the day, the decompression that I'm showing you on that sheet, you want to get good at that. But then with a kid, you've got to make things up. You've got to have fun because they're not going to look at it as a system. Let's see. Short form assessment looks like this. Hi, heel. I've got a couple things I want you to know is I've got ankle, hip, shoulder gyroscopes, a thoracic gyroscope, and a neck gyroscope. And then those gyroscopes need to stack balanced on top of a second toe. It needs to be straight. And in your resting pattern, you don't have a second toe straight. So everything up the chain is going to compensate. And you're going to see those compensations by looking at the back of your hands, by looking at the space between the elbows and the chest, and by looking at the curvature in the rest of the body. Now I'm going to move you forward into the squat, and we're going to look at how you load these patterns, and you're going to see that things slide over into your right column. So we need to be aware that your right side's doing all the work, and your left side today, we're going to try to make work a little more often. And then once again, we got to have your feet under your hips, under your shoulders, and that second toe has to be straight. All right? So we're going to work on straight feet today. On the back view, we're going to work on keeping these heels off the ground. Imagine there's a saltine cracker underneath those heels. We've got to get those heels higher off the ground. We got to get a second toe that's straight. That's going to be hard for you today, so some of these exercises may be difficult. Looking at the toe touch, can you touch the floor with your palms? I got hands, fingertips to the ground. That works for me, but we want to see the whole palm on the ground, and we're going to work towards that in the future. Single leg stance, great job balancing on one leg, okay? Look at this. That second toe's a little straighter, but it's not quite where we want it. We want that second toe straight, and we don't want so much scrunch in our toes. So today we're going to pay attention to our feet and try not to scrunch our toes. Oh, you lost your balance. That's all right. one of the best things we can do for our body is teach it to lose its balance, because then next time when it happens, we get better. But we're going to have better head control. We're going to try to get our kneecap up further in the sky when we pick it up. And we're going to keep this head just like you do over that knee. But I want you to be aware that if there was water in your head, it's going to dump out of that ear. And we need to keep our eyes and our ears level today. So that's the assessment I would do with you, Heel. Let's get started. Boom. So that'd be a short form assessment. Does that make sense? Yay, nay. Am I frozen?
And I'm going to have to see this this class all over again, so I can take notes from the specific for the specific exercises and start working with him. Maybe starting with two, maybe the
two exercises I want you to do with him, Chan. Scaffolding hang, so that TRX strap, but give him enough length, and then all you're going to do is each by week you're going to shorten that rope, okay, and you're going to give him less support. Number two, the other thing that I want you to do is your walk, straight foot walk. Can he walk with a straight foot? Can he walk without his heels on the ground? That's what you're working towards, but let's start with, can you walk with a straight foot? Rockers with a reach. Okay, so if I'm on the ground, number 3, forward and back rockers, week 1, forward and back. Okay, head in the center. Then, can we get the head over and reach? Can we get the head over and reach? Because this is what's going to get that spine from column to column. All right, so that's another great exercise. That reach from side to side. Okay, then comes with a reach and a drop and a reach, or a drop and a pull.
Okay.
It's going to be much harder for him to pack
but
into
pulling
this side
nothing, just
that gets away. Watch this chest. So when I drop in, okay, and I reach and pack, see that chest headed this way? And that's going to open up this side. Reach, pack, reach, pack. Get the cookie out of the cookie jar and then put it in a jar behind you. You can make it an activity where you're putting things.
I'm going to have, I was thinking about having something there and he can pull it, get it out, and then
I'm going to pick up the cookie and I'm going to put it up here in the cookie jar. Or I'm going to pick up the cookie and I'm going to put it down here to the dog. Pick up the cookie, give it to the dog. Pick up the cookie, give it to the dog. That's going to get the chest to turn. This is the hip now that has to turn and load back so I can get it into the jar. You're going to move that jar or the target. You're going to watch him. When he reaches, oh, that was way too easy. I'm going to give him 2 of those. And on number 3, I'm moving that shit away. Oh, that's a little harder. What'd you do that for? I was like, because it's more beneficial. If we're going to do this, let's do it where it's a challenge deal. All right. Boom. Because you're going to find that any human being is going to try to find a simpler way to do it. And he's going to cheat a little bit. If you notice him cheating, just say, hey, don't cheat, right? Don't be afraid to put your hands on his hips and say, I want you to turn these hips all the way before you put that thing in there. Because what they'll do is they'll pick it up and he'll try to just toss it in. No, I want you to place it in. Because that's that last 2 inches where he's going to be like, oh, this is hard. Yeah, you're very weak on this side because you spend all day over here. So as soon as you start to load him and pack him, this side's going to be tight and this side's going to be weak. We got through one assessment today. I'm going to run through those other videos with you.
Okay.
I'm not going to put him in huddle. I'm just going to review them with you. Share screen, start broadcast. Fun. All right. You see it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's my daughter.
What do we
My
notice?
oldest. Her feet.
Right foot, knee to the inside. So what's the change? What's the fix? All the exercises need to focus on what?
On her feet.
Or right foot mainly, right? That's the, if you look at the, right there, right foot mainly. Look at the squat. Man, right foot. We got to, so rockers right here, big for her. Rockers to toe tucked rockers to squat to hinge flow. But where does this right foot need to be? Under the column. So if you can get her to understand that, because she's dumping all her pressure over into that right side, but she's using that right side like a kickstand, like a bicycle kickstand. So it's not an athletic position. And you'll see foot in the ankle. You'll see out of the column. And you'll see those compensatory patterns. That's awesome. Okay. So that is something she does very well. So you don't have to do a ton of the decompression routines with her because she's got the hinge or the floor touch like that, Jan. If you suck at the hinge, if you suck at the floor touch, you got to do decompression work. You know that the spine and the hips you don't have a back chain that's long enough. If you suck at the squat, if her butt's not able to get all the way down, which it's not, she hits this, like, there's like a stop right there. She can't get any further. Why? Because she's bottomed out in the lower half. If that foot comes in, then her hips can get deeper. So her program needs to be squat heavy, rockers, squat to hinge flow, single leg stance, looking good. A little bit of a tilt right there, but the foot control, amazing. Only thing I would add, try to get that knee a little higher. She just kind of picks up the foot off the ground. I'd like to see this hip load more by that kneecap coming up, and you'll notice her head comes further over. Okay. So she's just kind of doing she's just picking up her foot, which is fine. This just tells us, all right, what are you good at? Well, how can I make it harder? How can I challenge your nervous system in a different way? Let's bring this knee all the way up into a full stork. So squat and stork work with her. Awesome. Got started young. I can see that that's your daughter for sure.
She's 8.
She's been paying attention. All right. So she understands resting position. She's been paying attention. Okay. Watch her close that right side. She closes it. She knows it's the side that gives her trouble. So she's just going to sneak it in here. So you know what I'm going to do with her? I'm going to challenge that right side. I want to see single leg stance. And then squat work, we know, okay, let's work on straight foot squat with her. Because you're going to see that she goes back to old bad habit.
Like a frog.
Like a frog. And you know what? That's how we develop. We develop with this little frog hop. I've been watching my baby going, okay, I see what happens here. The nervous system starts in this shape because it's not fully developed. So when you start to develop it, it gets stronger. And then it starts to use it more often. So for her, out of the heels up. You could say, put her in a deep squat, put her hands on the ground in this position.
She goes to the right
flow.
To the left side, right? In that squat.
Yeah, so her left side she's using. Left side, she's pushing away from it. But she's dumped into it. So if we bring that right foot in, keep the left foot right where it is and bring the right foot in and point it in the same direction the left foot's pointed, and then have her squat, she'll lose her balance. She'll fall into her heel, just like that. See that heel? So you're going to see consistencies. But for her, what's the fix? Squat to hinge flow. You got to get her deep into a squat with her hands on the ground and see if she can get into the hinge, squat to hinge. When you see that the palms can't get all the way to the ground, you know what that means? We've got to have a what? Support underneath those hands. So squat to hinge flow with a support under the hands, so she can have the palms on the ground and feel what that feels like. Or a chair. Chair is much taller than a foam block, but it's still also a good routine. And then same thing. how high can you get the knee? I'll show you that before I get off the call, the stork. So 3 good assessments, 3 different programs, but a lot of similarities. If you've got time with each of them individually, you make it an individual program. If you've got all of them in the same class, they all need foot awareness, they all need heel raises, calf raises, and they all need big overhead reaches.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about having the 3 of them at the same time.
Having the 3 of them in a say it again?
Yeah. I was thinking of having the 3 of them at the same time because of time, you know. I really don't have that much time to work with them individually. But I can. But for example, here Samuel, he lives by my side. He's my neighbor, and he's my nephew. So I can work with his mom and give him homework, and I know that his mom can help me.
Perfect.
So, like for the part that we have to work individually for him. But I would like, to work with the 3 of them on the things that they have similarity. The things that they have in common.
When you go back into those videos, you'll hear that there's 6 exercises total. You could have all of them do it.
Okay,
you could
perfect.
say, hey, here's the 6 things. It's all good work for anybody. So you're going, hey, here's the 6. These 2 that you really need. These 2 you really need. These 2 you really need. They don't need to know that.
And stuff.
You just need to know, hey, everybody's going to do this together. And then when you're teaching those 2, you know who you're going to focus on for those 2. And then you're going to focus on those with those 2. And the other 2 can just follow along. And it won't look perfect, right? It's not going to look perfect because it's a group class.
And for my daughters, for example, something that I noticed is that they don't have much upper body like issues, you know.
Yeah.
Their lower body is the one that needs more work.
And it's just underdeveloped is all that's happening. You're just improving. You're improving motor development with them. They're children. They're gonna do squirrely things, and they're super light. Right? So they're going to get away with things that you and I as an adult frame skeleton are not. We will hurt ourselves much sooner because we weigh more. So when you got little kids, they can get away with little squirrely things for a long, long time. You're just trying to prepare their future self to have better motor patterns.
Yeah, and the thing was that we could, because of the ignorance, I was the kind of mom that I wouldn't let them be barefoot because I was like, no, that you're gonna get your feet dirty and stuff like that. Or for example, I didn't let them crawl that much in the floor because of the germs and stuff. So I know that a lot of things that they're lacking.
Those are valid concerns. We live in a world where people, like, I just went to the lake earlier today. There's trash everywhere. It's so sad. I'm like, man, you can't walk barefoot in this area because you don't know who threw a glass bottle down. Because if you cut your foot open while you think, hey, I'm strengthening my feet by walking barefoot, and then you slice it open and get infected, now you're like, oh, shoot, that wasn't a very healthy choice. So you have valid concerns to keep them from walking around barefoot and keeping them off the floor, which is full of germs. Those aren't things that you did wrong. Those are just things that you're more aware of, like, oh shoot, maybe I could spend some time on the floor, but in a controlled environment where there's some intentional floor space, right? I gotta follow this little baby of mine around soon because he's crawling around. He's figured out how to get out of reverse gear, and now he can bounce forward. He uses a little frog thing to like bounce himself forward.
How cute.
And then his arms get tired and he whacks his head into the floor, right? And it's like, do I stop him from whacking his head in the floor, or do I let him continue to whack his head in the floor? And that's the dilemma. So you know what I do? I pad the floor. If you're going to whack your head into the floor, like you're going to whack it into a soft surface.
Perfect.
And then I'm going to let you whack it in.
Because you have the knowledge, because you're aware.
Right?
But in my time, I wasn't aware of it. I thought I was doing the right thing, you know?
But you
But
are
now
doing the right thing, and you were doing the right thing. You were never not doing the right thing. Don't get caught up in that there's a right and a wrong of this, right? There's good patterns,
okay.
and there's patterns of health and longevity, and there's patterns of injury. And the people with good, healthy patterns can still get hurt. And the people that have terrible patterns, the guy that smokes cigarettes and drinks 6 out of the 7 days of the week, some of those people live till they're 90. Why? Who knows? Human beings. You can have the willpower and get through things. So you're not ruining or unruining anything. You're just going, hey, you know what? This is the perfect time to start, which is today. And you're doing a great job with this. And that you have 3 kiddos here that are all 3 different approaches. That's my favorite one. See that? She's rocking it. That's a stud pose. If I see that, that's symmetry. I'm taking a screenshot of that, going, the only thing that I see is a little bit of a lean to the right. And do you see where I see that?
I can see. Yeah, I see it.
I see space here that's different.
It's like a tilting, you see, right? Because I see like also like that arm is a little bit longer. You know, it's like a little bit near her knee.
If
like
I have a 90-year-old woman that walks in and looks like that and she's 90, I'm going to go, Miss Jan, you look awesome. What's going on in your body? How can I help you? And I'm just going to immediately go to what does she want to do? Because she's looking great. And if we're in week 6 and she's like, I don't know, I haven't progressed much. Well, now I've got the old video and let's shoot another video. And maybe we see things have shifted over here. And it's like, hey, we've shifted away from a side that you used to use a lot. So when you say it's not going well, does it just mean you feel weaker? Yeah. I'm like, well, welcome to your other side, Miss Jan. You are weaker on that side, but you're making progress towards what we want to see. So anytime you have this old film, that's what's nice. Film it once every 3 months with your kids. And you're going to see changes over those 3 months. And if you've got a year, you got 4 assessments, you're going to be able to look and see, okay, what do I really need to pay attention on? The more data, right? That's data. The more videos you get of them, the better you're going to be able to explain things to them. And 3 years from now, they're like, yeah, mom's been filming me for 4 years, 3 times a year. I'm ready to make a difference because I'm tired of her filming me 3 times a year. And now you've got somebody that's bought in. So there's no wrong way to do it. There's a long way and a short way. Okay.
Okay.
Let's move into Lucia and wrap it up, and then I'll do some Q&A.
Okay.
So with her right here, I would significantly reduce the height of that box, and then make her lift her heel off the ground. Because if you lift her heel off the ground right here, all that pressure in my mind is going to go right into that knee because you got this heel down too. And that's a that's a 20-inch box, which is a pretty big step up. If you reduce that box, so it would be like 18, half, right? I would go 10 half. If you have a 10.
No, we don't have that. We have 12. We have 12.
Honestly, I put a phone block down and stand on one. Do the 12. Work with what you got. Do on the 12, but elevate the front foot on a little bit less of a surface. Start with both feet on that surface and then step back off of the surface with the right side versus stepping up onto the box, step down and back. And then front view, what I would have her be more aware of is right here. We have heel in.
Her knee,
okay? So we got a knee in and a heel in. So we got to get this second toe almost pointing in here. So the knee and the toe and then the hip can point back and the heel can point back in a way, and she can get her chest and her head over this foot. That's really, really good right here. She's doing a great job. We're just going, okay, what's the rest of the shape look like? And we can see that I've got all the pressure still in this column. So even though she's elevated this foot, that's why I say, hey, we're going to reduce the height of that box.
Okay.
because this is a long way to go to get over here to this foot right now when it's 20 inches up. Not that
Okay.
it's not doable, but you want to get more accuracy in a smaller range and then work up to that range.
Perfect.
So 12-inch box on that with the head and the chest over into the landing side, and then that back
Okay.
foot, get out of that
Like
heel.
loading all your
You can
body
see,
to
so right here,
the
she's in
the
her
left
right
side.
heel. I would say 90% of her weight right now is
Mm-hmm.
in that heel that's on the ground. That foot is basically just up on the bench, like Captain Morgan style. She's just chilling.
And
You
I
know
was
what I mean?
telling her, and I was telling her, you have to load your foot, like if you want to stand over the box. You know, like when you want to go up the box, you load that foot, that side of your body, and then you lift the one that is on the ground. But you won't lift it. You're just gonna do like the first phase. That's the way that I was trying to explain her how to load that part. So I don't think she got it, or maybe I didn't explain it right. I can't hear you. If you're talking, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was
There you
making
go.
sound effects. I wasn't really talking. I was kind of like making sound effects while I drew.
Oh, okay.
Heel up, heel away, boom, shoot.
Internal rotation.
Yep.
There you go. You have to be tapping your tablet.
Same side, right? Different view.
I
Good.
can't see.
You can't? Dang it. It's because my...
It was sleeping.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So right here. Good. She's in her heel, right? But that's a good shape. Good shape.
And we were working barefoot.
Working barefoot. I think the biggest thing for her, right, in these positions, Jan, is just reduce the height of that box.
Okay.
12 inches or below. That's a pretty tall step. Although, if she were to load that foot and stand all the way up, and then lower it back down, that's a good exercise, but you're working her up to that point. You want to see that she can successfully get her head and her chest pointed towards this camera angle. It's still pointed like straight ahead.
Yeah,
right?
that was a cue that I didn't give her.
Ahead.
Maybe that's why she didn't do it. Yeah, I didn't
She get
tell
better.
her.
So heels up, chest synchronizes with whatever front foot. Ooh, guess what? All right. Side view, so it's going to be tough to show, but watch her right knee. Boom. See that shape right there? That's the ACL tear.
Yeah.
That is the dormant pattern that so when she relaxes, she just falls into that position. So we've got to get her out of that heel because she uses the heel and the inside of that foot right there to just kind of rest.
I see that. Like
but
she opens
look what she does with the back
right?
heel. Look what she does with the bottom foot. She gets that heel off the ground. Okay, so positive. We just got to get both heels off the ground. And for her, that right hip right now, that right hip has to come where? Back. So this side turns in, this side turns in, and then this side turns out. And this right hip, I should see behind the left hip. But I know that the right butt cheek is in front of the left butt cheek here. So I need to see more from the side view. I need to see her right hip further back.
Okay.
And then that'll get her loaded into that side that she's unloaded in there. But better, I love the use of the elevated surface. That's a good shape. That's a great shape. Look at that foot. Show her that. You screenshot that and say, Lucia, that's the foot that we're after. We just got to get that heel a little further off the ground, and that'll load this hip. And then we got to get the chest to turn. But look at that. You've got a loaded spine on that side too. So you're just going to take this right hand, Remember the look backs that I've taught with the right hand on the right hip and the left hand on the right knee. So have her put her hands there and look back, and then get that heel off the ground to protect that back knee.
Okay,
so you see,
so
we still got that negative
like
shape in there.
It's like holding that position, the one, but without, because then she closes. If you see, she closes like
when she lets go of it. It should still stay in that
inside.
shape. It should still stay in that old shape when she lets go of it. Here, let's do that. I'll show you a good one on. All right, so you've got elevated front side. Okay, we're gonna load, and boom, right here, and then back side, we're gonna pick it all up. And now all my pressure is here. Okay, so side view, straight. All my pressure's in my right side. I'm gonna get it to my left side. I'm gonna turn, right hand, left hand, heel up, back heel up off the ground. Last one. Back view, left foot, second toe straight, heel up off the ground, right hand, left hand, turn the pelvis, and then last rep, get the heel up off the ground, and then hold it. And all the pressure should be right there in the hip, and that's a good shape. And then that shape is going to come off of that, and you're going to want to feel it, so you stick her on the wall, and then you go back to that. So the elevated front foot is great. You just got to get those
just a little
heels off the
lower
ground for her. Yep.
Okay, and
a little lower,
12
heels
inches.
up off the ground, because the higher it is, the harder it's going to be for her to get the heel up, right?
Is that
So
I was
you
thinking that
reduce
because she's tall, I had to put a taller box.
Hey, you're using what you got, and thank you for filming. Otherwise, we wouldn't know those little details. Those are the things that I can't like list in these calls. Like, here's all the things I've ever learned ever. Right? That's not how I teach. I was like, hey, what are you working on? Let me see it. Let me see if I can give you feedback and help you. Because like Corey today, you know, I've known Corey for a decade, and he comes up with like, hey, I've used scales before, so you know what, how much. I'm like, genius, simple. And then it's not like, that's very, nobody's lying to you. Like, it's a scale. Hey, your right foot, you got more weight in it. It's not me going, hey, see more pressure over here on the right side on a video, and somebody going, yeah, whatever. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. And you go, bro, your scale on your right foot is heavier than your left. You got more pressure over there. And then he's like, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, now let's look at the video.
Yeah,
so
what
cool.
I do is that I'm trying to film every new movement that I implement in her routine. So every time I do something new with her, I am just sending it right away to you in the exact moment that we're starting to do it. So that video that you see there is the first time.
You saw there was a lot we wanted to review on that too, right? Like that's huge for you to send that to me. There'll be times that I'll probably be like, oh yeah, I can send more immediate feedback. I've been stacked this last weekend.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I know that whenever you have the time, you will let me know.
Jen, if you're ever like, hey, if you're like, Cody, would you please send me some feedback before Tuesday? You know what I'm going to do, Jen? I'm going to send you some feedback before Tuesday. Okay? So you just keep asking for what you need. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I tell my clients, it's what I tell you, it's what I tell anybody I'm working with. Hey, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I go to the nursing home, the hospitals, and I tell people, you have to go push that call light. You have to ask for things. These people are not going to come ask you like, hey, what do you need, Miss Smith? No, there's somebody down the hall that pushes their button all day, every day. And that person, that nursing assistant is always in their room. So you got to be a squeaky wheel. Well, I don't want to push the button because then I feel like I'm a burden. I'm like, you're in a hospital. You have help. But the only way you're getting help is if you push the button. And in that sense, that's where it's like, when I do remote work, push the button. Hit me up. You've done a great job at that, though. I'm just letting you know, like, Cody, I've got her Tuesday. I don't feel like
I got her.
Like, hey, the dad's going to be here Tuesday. Like, if there's
Wednesdays and Fridays.
Perfect.
Wednesdays
you
and
get her
Fridays
a day before this call. So you're prepped, and then you get 2 sessions with her, and then we see her next Thursday.
Exactly. That's why I did. I never tell you like I really need it because I know that we're going to do the review before I meet her.
Cool.
So that's
Perfect.
why it's perfect.
Well, if you ever miss on Tuesday, let me know and I can catch you up on a Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to JP and Gabby still and try to continue to do these for y'all just in like, because learning the assessment is not black and white. It's not like, hey, here's your 3 assessment lessons. Now you know every single assessment is going to have a little bit of a difference, little bitty different behaviors. And all you're trying to find in an assessment is what can I work on? What shape do I see consistently that doesn't meet my happy eye? And how can I make it cleaner through an exercise program or a play program, which with kids, it's a play program. They don't care about exercise. They don't.
Yeah.
Even if they tell you,
And
like,
the
I
one
want
that
to
you did,
exercise. My 9-year-old.
and let me tell you,
I'm gonna get
the one
strong, be a professional athlete. I'm like, you're not ready for that, bro. You're
Mhm.
still a child. You don't need to be living that lifestyle yet because that lifestyle is not glorious. That lifestyle is up at 4 a.m., asleep at 7 p.m. You have no friends because you're training. That's what you do. You eat, sleep, and breathe sports until you retire. And yes, you made a lot of money, but your best years, you spent flying all over the place and competing against other people. And you're going to wish that you went fishing more often.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And let me tell you, the assessment that you did with Kid Samuel, I don't know how you do that, man. I really wish
a lot of time.
in some point, I know, in some point I'm going to be able to do that.
You absolutely will. I'm
my
6 years
goodness.
ahead of you, Jan. I'm 6 years ahead of you with the assessment process. It takes
It's
time.
amazing.
It takes
Thank you
practice.
for that.
You
It's
just
amazing.
gyroscope, and you'll doing them live and on the fly. That's what really has made me better at it, I believe. Because like I can sit home and make a perfect one. I can screen record and do it perfect and send it to you. And I would do that for people. But I prefer to do it in a live conference setting because if I do screw up, I can go, hey, this is a great teaching moment. Because there's times that I see things and I'm like, oh, we're consistently in our right side. And then we squat and everything goes to the left side. And I go, wait, this went against everything that like I've seen before. And now I have to dive in and figure out why. And that is what makes the assessment process not so systematic and way more individualized. And that's what people don't get anywhere, I don't think. Like good practitioners are few and far between because everybody's trying to automate something and make it, hey, we're just going to automate this. We're going to use AI and let everybody we'll just have them. AI is the answer, right? Instead of us as a human being going, I've got to fail 25 times before I figure out what the question even was. And now I can create an answer because I don't actually know what the question is. And if I type in, hey, give me the answer to this. Well, it's going to give me the answer to that, but I don't learn anything. And if I just continue to rely on that automation, I'm not going to learn. So that's why I showed you that the tool and that assessment process is there. If I wanted to do 100 assessments in a day, I'd use the tool. I'd click it on, I'd screenshot. I'd have 100 of those, and then I'd talk about it. But for this setting, I want you to understand, hey, here's how it is, because it's not just the assessment you're assessing. Now you're learning how to assess exercises, how to assess running, how to assess throwing, how to assess swinging. And you'll see, holy cow, it's way simpler than everybody makes it. But then once you get simple down, then you'll be like, all right, how do I take it a step further? And you wind up in the field with everybody else just making words up because that's how that goes, because everybody's looking for the next greatest thing. And in my experience, it's like, get really good at a simple assessment, get really good at delivering the results of that simple assessment, and then get really good at 3 to 9 exercises. And give that to people consistently, and you're going to make way more progress with a greater amount of people in the same amount of time. And if you want to specialize in something very specific, like tennis or golf, you're going to have to learn from the greatest in those 2 sports. But you'll have a head up because you have a simple understanding and a way to portray the foundation of movement, which is what you're doing. And your foundation with this, your possibilities are endless. Like, you name it, you just make it up and you can do it. You really can, as you're showing. And you got a you got a ton of people to practice on, which is amazing. You got 3 kids, 3 different case studies. I really do think you should film like 3 times a year. And then over time, you're like, wow, look, I have these.
To see the progress,
these are my
right?
children. Like, if you can, any parent knows probably, like, if I can teach my children, I can teach yours. Because kids don't listen to parents.
True.
So it's
that's my biggest challenge, you know? Not teaching others, but teaching my kids.
It's a never-ending challenge. I can tell you that because my parents have been challenged with me my whole life, and I know that. And I love them because they've stayed consistent with me. They've always supported. They've always given feedback. Sometimes it was feedback that was like something I didn't want to hear but needed to hear. Other times, maybe they go, hey, we made a mistake there. But they've always been honest with me and given me feedback and said, we're doing the best we can. You're doing the best you can. And if you've got that relationship with a client or a family member, you're going to continue to do great things because you can only learn. You can only grow.
Yeah.
That's why we're all here.
Thank you for that.
Jan, you're awesome.
Thank you very much.
I'll look forward to your film, more pictures and video tomorrow then.
Of course.
Like, when you see her. Sweet. Let me know if I can do anything for you. I'll
Thank you.
This later. I'll talk to you soon.
See you. Bye.